Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune conjunct one's natal Uranus. When we're talking about transits that involve Neptune, they can be about dissipation, dissolving, idealism, inspiration, deception, and duplicity. When transit Neptune conjoins one's natal Uranus, well, this may manifest in dissipation, dissolving, idealism, inspiration, deception, duplicity. It could be in connection with friends at this time. You might be dealing with a friend that might be a little bit more deceptive and duplicitous than usual. Maybe this friend might be more nebulous and unclear. It's harder to gauge these people. It can be a time to where this could be about the dissolving of very erratic and sporadic energy. If it's in the sixth house, say, it might be work or just your general daily routine or schedule. It can be something too where you might feel more inspired to do something a little bit more unusual or unorthodox than usual. Again, going back to the sixth house, it might be something in your daily routine. It could be doing something in the home life. Uh, if it's something at works in the sixth, say if it's in the sixth house, if it's something work related, it could be something as simple as using maybe a pallet jack to raise a garage door. I mean, it's just really, it could just be doing some very simple, unusual things that maybe you hadn't really done before, and you might have more inspiration in terms of doing it at this time. Now, it could also be a time where something Neptune related can be ingenuity. It could be like creating some kind of new vaporizer because you're talking about Neptune could be connected with vapors, and you're looking at Uranus is connected with innovation and ingenuity. Uh, it can be a time where you're trying to dissolve things that are disruptive in your life. If it's in your fourth house, say this transit, it could be something connected with your home or family life and your emotional security. Say if this was in Scorpio, it could be something connected with a stalker or somebody either in some criminal activity in your neighborhood that might be doing something that's connected, that's affecting your safety and security. uh, it can be a time too where you might also be more delusional about maybe some kind of group. If it's something that you're a group you're trying to join, just be careful at this time because Neptune can be connected with glossing over details. It can make things very nebulous and unclear. We may not see things as they really are at this time. So say, I mean, if this is in Sagittarius, say it's a sports related group, and that's something where it might sound very good, on the surface, but it's always important to investigate things and just to be careful, especially when you have a transit like this with Neptune. Now, it could also be a time too where it can also manifest in joining the Neptune related group because Uranus can be connected with groups. Neptune can be connected with the sea, water, the oceans. It could be something with fishing or something with the metaphysical, which includes astrology, poetry, dancing, photography. It could also be a time too where you might be trying to isolate yourself to have maybe a little bit more freedom in doing what you generally do day to day. Could just simply be doing your mundane tasks, and having this isolation could be a way for you and where you can be able to feel more freer to do what you want to do without interference from others. And can also be a time too where it could also manifest in some kind of idealism or maybe inspired to do something Uranus related, like something with astrology or computers or electronics at this time. And it might be a lot of self-sacrificing energy in this. If you're in one of those fields that I mentioned, you might find yourself doing things for others in connection with them and not really expecting a lot of reciprocation in return. Uh, Anatomically speaking, Uranus is connected with the ankles, the shins, the calves, circulation, lower legs. So in some isolated cases, it could be some kind of deterioration or dissolving of one of those things that I just mentioned physically, especially if this falls in the first or the sixth house in your natal chart. The first house is connected with the physical body. Sixth house can be connected with physical health and physical debilitations. Uh, and also, too, keep in mind as well that I mean, Neptune can make things very unclear. I mean, if you have something going on with your with the computer or something electronic, then you're not really sure what it is. It might be harder to figure out what is actually going on at this time. And I don't know if cars still have this, like the computer fuel gauge. There's something where you might get an indication that something is wrong, and you feel like you know what the answer is. It's very clear cut, but it's not always the case when you have a transit uh, like this. So the thing about it too is that Uranus can also be connected with social media and social networking. So it might be a time where you might be more susceptible to being beguiled by somebody uh, on social media or the internet at this time. So just be very guarded, and you gotta be very careful divulging credit card information, financial information at this time. People pretending to be who they aren't on social media. This is prevalent anyway, regardless of transits, but it could even be more so when you have this kind of transit. Now, another thing too is that this could also manifest in some cases in it could be confusion connected with the internet, social media, social networking, friends, groups. At this time, it might be some indecision involving these things, or you're just very unsure about one of those things that I just mentioned, or even more than one of those things. Now, let's say, for example, if this falls in Scorpio, this could be some issue, maybe perhaps with the virus that might be corrupting your computer system, and it might be very hard for you to maybe determine or decipher what is actually going on, how to actually repair it at this time. Remember, Neptune also is associated with dissipation and disappearances. Now, in some cases, this might be expressed in the disappearance of a friend, a group, a club, an organization. It can be something, or it could be something, let's say if this falls in Pisces, it could be a metaphysical, paranormal photography group, for example. In some cases, when you're talking about disappearances, if it's one person especially, it can be literal in some cases, not all the time. When we're talking about disappearances, generally it's generally about people that just figuratively dissipate out of your life, that they want isolation, maybe they just want to end the connection for some reason. They're moving on to different seek other endeavors. I mean, I've had people that have done this. I have transit Neptune currently in my 11th house now, and I've had people dissipate, friends dissipate, into thin air basically, and leaving me left and right. So it's something that just seems to happen when you have a transit like this. Now, the thing about this too, though, it could also manifest in some cases on a positive note in a Neptune goal or aspiration. It could be something like, I don't know if the word is podiatrist, whatever that profession is that works with the feet. It can be something with the metaphysical, which includes astrology, the paranormal, photography, chemistry, filmography, poetry, anesthesiology, working with illusion like special effects, anything connected with Neptune. Now, or it could even be at these times that aspirations and goals may be undefined and nebulous or unclear, and that your future might even seem a little bit nebulous, obscure, or unclear at this time. There might be a greater propensity or proclivity to have that drifting syndrome at this time. It might be a time where you might be kind of going from here to there, here to to this goal, or to this aspiration, or going to this friend and then going to another. It can also be a time, remember that Neptune is also connected with imprisonment and incarceration, so just be careful. It can be a greater time for getting prison or incarcerated for like a cyber crime. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. Could be like a cyber crime or something with spoofing, as an example. Something where you're doing crime that's connected with something electronic. It could be jamming police signal. This is something where there might be greater propensity for that at this time, or it could simply be that a friend or someone that's prominent in some group, club, or organization might be incarcerated at this time. And could also be a time too where you might feel more of a need to isolate yourself from society. Neptune can be connected with isolation. Uranus can be connected with societies. I would say society as well in general. Now, say if it's in Capricorn, it might be due to perceived coldness or callousness from others or people that were more successful than you. It could be a time where you might be kind of drifting away because maybe you're hurt by maybe seeing somebody that might be people that might have better stature in life or more successful than you are in the event that, say, this was in Capricorn. Now, another thing too is that this can also manifest in some cases as self-sacrifice and altruism expressed toward friends at this time. Say if it's in Sagittarius, it could be foreigners, religious, very philanthropic people perhaps. Neptune is also associated with sleep and dreams, so it could be about a time where you might be dreams that might be a little bit more unusual than others, whether you're chasing a Bigfoot or you're here dreaming you're riding down your steps and a bicycle and falling into quicksand or something. It could be just something that's very bizarre, things you might be dreaming about at this time. Now, it's in isolated cases. This could also be about dissolving, might be some weakness in the lower legs, the calves, ankles, shins. It could be issues, weakness with nerves, perhaps circulation. And again, going back to the deception on the internet, just to reiterate, just to be more careful at this time, people. If you are somebody that's on the internet religiously, just be very careful if you have this transit that it can be more susceptible to being beguiled, being deceived at this time more so than usual. But it could also, and positively manifested, and also can be expressed as transit is exhibiting compassion um, toward friends at this time, toward groups, and even in conjunction with humanitarian endeavors at this time, or could be doing something Uranus related, such as computers, electronics, astrology, astronomy, um, anything that is connected with Uranus. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.